She lost her job because of love, and the whole city turned against her. But what the billionaire did next in front of everyone will leave you in tears. Stay tuned because you're about to watch a beautiful story and find out what happened next. Hello, family. Welcome to Tales Haven. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more beautiful stories. Thank you as you do so. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. Morning sunlight slipped gently through the cream curtains of Kate's tiny apartment. Dust sparkled in the warm rays, dancing softly over the white gown that hung beside her bed. For a moment, she thought she was still dreaming. Everything from the night before, the music box, the dance, the quiet proposal, felt almost unreal. But the ring on her finger was real. It glimmered faintly as she turned her hand toward the light. Her heart swelled, not with pride, but with something deeper. Peace. Kate had never imagined her life could change like this. Just months ago, she was struggling to pay rent and wondering if her dreams mattered. Now, she was waking up with a feeling she had never known before. Hope that stayed. She got out of bed, made a small cup of coffee, and sat by the window. The streets below were waking up too. Vendors setting up stalls, children running, buses honking. It was the same world she'd always known, but it looked different now. She smiled faintly. Maybe the world didn't change, she whispered. Maybe I did. Her phone buzzed on the table. She picked it up and saw a message from Michael. Good morning, Kate. I hope you slept well. I couldn't stop thinking about you. Would you like to meet later, just for a walk? No fancy plans, no cameras, just us? Her smile grew wider. I'd love that, she replied. By afternoon, she stood waiting at Willow Park, a quiet garden filled with tall trees, blooming flowers, and little benches where old couples often sat holding hands. She wore a simple blue dress, the same one she wore the day she met him again, and brushed her soft curls over her shoulder. Then she saw him. Michael walked toward her wearing a light shirt, sleeves rolled up, no tie, no security, just a man who looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered. In his hand were 2 paper cups of coffee. Here, he said with a warm smile, handing her one. Caramel latte, no sugar, I remembered. Kate laughed lightly. You remembered that? Of course, he said. You told me the first day we met at the cafe that sweet things should be earned, not added. She blushed. You have a good memory. They began walking through the park path. The trees rustled gently as the breeze passed through. A child's laughter echoed from the swings nearby. Everything felt calm, peaceful, like life had slowed down just for them. So, Kate said, glancing at him playfully, no business calls today, Mr. CEO? He grinned. I promised myself no suits, no stress, just sunshine. She smiled. I like that version of you. He nodded. Me too. They walked quietly for a moment before Michael said softly, You know, when I first saw you by that window, I thought you were just admiring a dress. But now I realize you were teaching me something I'd forgotten. Kate tilted her head. Teaching you what? That joy doesn't come from having everything, he said gently. It comes from finding beauty in what you already see. Her eyes softened. Maybe that's what your mother used to feel, just finding happiness in the small things. Michael smiled. You remind me of her sometimes, her kindness, her quiet strength. Kate's heart melted. Then I'm honored. He stopped walking, turned to her and said, You've changed me, Kate. I used to measure life by numbers and profits. Now I measure it by moments like this. She felt tears gather in her eyes. I didn't do anything, Michael. He shook his head slowly. You did everything. You looked at me, really looked at me when no one else did. Her chest tightened as emotions filled her. Then I guess we both saved each other. He reached out and took her hand. Maybe that's how love is supposed to start, not with wealth or plans, but with timing and heart. They walked hand in hand until the sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of gold and pink. At the far end of the park, there was a small bridge over a quiet pond. They stood there, leaning against the wooden rails. The reflection of the sky shimmered on the water, soft and peaceful. Michael turned toward her. Kate, do you ever think about the day we met? Every day, she admitted. I still can't believe you noticed me. He smiled gently. I didn't just notice you. I saw you, the way you looked at that dress like it was a piece of hope. I couldn't walk away from that kind of heart. Kate's eyes filled again, but this time with tears of joy. I guess that dress wasn't meant to be mine by money. It was meant to lead me to you. Michael's eyes softened. And you were meant to teach me that love is the only thing worth everything. They stood there in silence, the wind brushing softly through the trees. The city in the distance was loud and restless, but where they stood, there was only calm, the kind that comes when two hearts finally find home. As the evening deepened, Michael squeezed her hand. Promise me something, he said quietly. What? No matter what people say, no matter what happens next, don't ever think you're not enough. You're the reason my world finally makes sense. Her voice shook slightly. I promise, Michael. But only if you promise one thing, too. What's that? Never forget who you were before you became rich. The man who looked at a girl in the rain and saw her heart. He smiled. That deep, genuine smile she loved. Deal. They both laughed softly, and in that laughter was the sound of peace, the sound of two people learning how to begin again. As they left the park under the evening lights, Kate glanced at him and said teasingly, You know, I still can't believe a billionaire walked into my cafe and fell for a girl who couldn't even afford a new coat. Michael chuckled. And I still can't believe a girl who once dreamed of a dress became the reason I finally stopped dreaming and started living. Kate smiled, her heart full. Then I guess we're even. He nodded. No, Kate. I think I'm a lucky one. That night, as Kate lay in bed, she thought about his words. She didn't have luxury or fame, but she had something far more valuable, a love built on kindness, truth, and second chances. And as the city slept, the poor girl who once stood outside a boutique window was now standing at the doorway of a new beginning, one written not by wealth, but by love that found her when she least expected it. The next few weeks passed like a gentle dream. Every morning, Michael would send Kate a short message, sometimes just a line that said, Good morning, sunshine, or Don't forget to smile today. And every evening, he found a reason to stop by the cafe. Sometimes it was to grab coffee, sometimes just to see her face. The cafe staff had grown used to it. Lydia would tease, Our VIP customer is here again, and Kate would blush, pretending not to hear. When they weren't at the cafe, they took quiet walks around the city, far from cameras and flashing lights. Michael showed her the places his mother loved when he was a child, the little bookstore, the small bridge, the old church garden. Each place held a story, and Kate listened as if every word mattered. She was falling deeper for him. And though Michael had known power and luxury his whole life, he was realizing that none of it compared to this. Simple moments, real laughter, and peace. But peace doesn't last forever. One chilly morning, Michael sat in his office on the top floor of Reed Enterprises. The skyline stretched far beyond the windows, but his focus was broken by a sharp knock. Come in, he said. His business partner, Mr. Collins, walked in holding a newspaper. His expression was serious. Michael, we need to talk. Michael looked up from his laptop. About what? Collins placed the newspaper on his desk. The front page showed a photo, Michael and Kate walking hand in hand in the park. The headline read, Billionaire CEO spotted with mystery cafe girl, romance or risk? Michael sighed quietly. They finally found us. Collins crossed his arms. This isn't some harmless gossip column. Investors are calling. Our image is on the line. You can't afford to get distracted by a girl who serves coffee. Michael's eyes darkened slightly, though his tone remained calm. Her name is Kate, and she's not a distraction. Collins frowned. Michael, listen to me. You're one of the most powerful men in this city. People expect you to act like it. Do you have any idea what this looks like? Michael leaned back in his chair. Yes. It looks like a man who finally found happiness. Collins shook his head. This could ruin everything. The annual charity gala is coming next month. Every major partner will be there. If you show up with her, people will talk. Michael stood, walked toward the window, and spoke softly but firmly. Let them talk. I'm not ashamed of her. Then you'll lose respect, Collins said bluntly. You'll lose deals. Michael turned around, his voice calm but filled with quiet strength. Then I'll make new ones, with people who value hearts more than headlines. That evening, when Michael arrived at the cafe, he didn't carry his usual calm smile. Kate noticed the moment he walked in, his shoulders tense, his eyes tired. Hey, she greeted softly, handing him a cup. Your usual, no sugar, extra calm? He smiled faintly. I wish coffee could fix everything. She frowned. What happened? He hesitated for a moment, then decided she deserved the truth. He told her about the article, the whispers, the threats to his company's image. Kate's face grew pale. Oh no, Michael, I'm so sorry. He shook his head. Don't apologize for existing. But maybe they're right, she said quietly. You don't owe me anything. You've already done so much for me. I don't want to be the reason people turn against you. Michael placed his coffee down, then reached across the table and took her hand gently. Kate, look at me. She did, her eyes wet. I've spent years living for everyone else, the board, the media, the world. And for what? Empty awards and lonely dinners. Then I met you, and I finally remembered what peace feels like. But, she began softly. No, he said firmly but gently. I don't care what they write. Let them print 1,000 headlines. I'm not hiding you. Tears filled her eyes. But I'm not from your world, Michael. I don't know how to walk where you walk. He smiled faintly. Maybe that's why I love you. Her heart skipped. You love me? He nodded slowly, his gaze steady. Yes, Kate. Not for how you look or what you have, but for how you make everything else fade away when I'm with you. She tried to hold back her tears, but they fell anyway. I don't know what to say. Just say you won't run away from me, he whispered. She smiled through her tears. I won't. He reached up, wiping the tears from her cheek. Then I can face whatever comes. But fate wasn't done testing them. The next day, Kate's cafe manager called her into the office. Kate, he said awkwardly, I think it's better you take a break for now. Her stomach dropped. A break? Did I do something wrong? He sighed. No. You're one of our best. But customers are talking. Reporters keep coming here asking questions about you and Mr. Reed. It's disrupting the place. Kate stood frozen, unable to speak. I'm sorry, he said gently. Just for a few weeks, until things calm down. She nodded slowly, blinking back tears. I understand. As she stepped outside, the cold air stung her face. She walked aimlessly, her thoughts heavy. It wasn't just about losing her job, it was about realizing how love could be beautiful and cruel at the same time. That evening, she sat by her window holding her phone. She typed a message to Michael, then erased it. She didn't want him to feel guilty. But before she could think further, her phone rang. It was him. Kate, I've been trying to reach you all day. Where are you? Her voice broke. Michael, I lost my job. He fell silent. Because of me? She tried to sound brave. No. Because of the world we live in. He exhaled deeply. Kate, listen to me. I'll fix this. I promise. Please don't, she said quickly. You've already done enough. I need to breathe for a while. Kate. I'll be okay, she said softly, even though her voice trembled. When the call ended, she leaned her head against the window, tears falling freely. The city lights blurred before her eyes. She didn't know it yet, but this storm was not meant to destroy them. It was meant to prove what kind of love could survive it. And as Michael sat in his empty office that night, staring at the music box on his desk, he turned the key once. The soft tune filled the room, carrying a whisper only he could hear. Real love is tested in the dark. He closed his eyes and whispered back, then I'll wait for the light. The morning after Kate lost her job, the city felt louder than usual. She sat by her window with the ring on her finger and the white gown hanging by the wall. She kept asking herself one question. Do I belong in his world? At noon, there was a soft knock. When she opened the door, Michael stood there with a small bouquet of white daisies and the calmest eyes she had ever seen. "I heard what happened," he said quietly. "I'm sorry." "It's not your fault," she answered, though her voice was thin. He stepped inside and placed the flowers in a glass. "The gala is in 3 days," he said. "Everyone expects me to arrive with a perfect smile and a perfect plan. I only want to arrive with you." Kate looked down. "People will stare." "Let them," he replied. "They don't get to decide our story." She hesitated. "I don't have anything to wear except the dress." Michael smiled. "Then wear it. Not because of them, but because it once gave you hope. Tonight, let it give you courage." Kate breathed in slowly. "Okay," she said at last. "I'll come." The Reed Foundation Charity Gala lit up the grand hall like a sky full of stars. Crystal chandeliers shimmered. The orchestra tuned their instruments. Reporters crowded the entrance, cameras raised and ready. A black car stopped at the red carpet. The door opened. Michael stepped out first. Then he turned and offered his hand. Kate took it. She wore the white lace gown she had once admired through a window. The crowd fell quiet for a second, not because they recognized her, but because grace has a way of silencing noise. Whispers followed them as they walked. "Is that the cafe girl? What is he thinking? She's beautiful, but does she belong here?" At the top of the steps, Mr. Collins met them, jaw tight. "Michael, we need to talk privately." Michael didn't let go of Kate's hand. "Anything you want to say to me, you can say in front of her." Collins lowered his voice. "Investors are nervous. Don't make a scene." Michael's gaze was steady. "I'm going to make something clear," he said. "And I'm going to do it kindly." He led Kate inside. The hall glowed gold. A soft waltz began. But before the first dance, the host invited Michael to the stage for his welcome speech. He kissed Kate's knuckles. "I'll be back," he whispered. Michael stood at the microphone. The room settled. "Good evening," he began. "Thank you for supporting the Reed Foundation. Tonight, I'm supposed to talk about numbers, how much we raised, how much we'll give." He paused, then smiled faintly. "But I want to talk about windows." A ripple of confusion moved through the guests. "When I was a boy," he continued, "my mother and I would pass a shop every Saturday. There was a blue dress in the window. She never went inside. She only looked at it, smiled, and said, 'Maybe next time.' I wanted to buy it for her when I grew up. I waited too long." He swallowed gently. "She never got the chance to wear something beautiful." In the crowd, Collins shifted, uncomfortable. Others listened, still. "Months ago, I saw a young woman standing outside a boutique, looking at a dress the way my mother once did, with wonder, not envy. That woman is here tonight." He turned, eyes finding Kate. Cameras turned too. "Her name is Kate Brooks," he said, voice warm. "She didn't ask me for anything. She reminded me of everything." A hush fell over the hall. "So tonight, we're launching a new program in my mother's name, the Anna Reed Windows and Wishes Fund, for working women, single mothers, and students who keep giving even when life keeps asking. We'll offer grants, job support, and partnerships with small businesses, so no one loses work because they were brave enough to be seen." Applause began, soft at first, then stronger. Some people stood. Even a few reporters lowered their cameras to clap. Michael's eyes never left Kate. "And one more thing," he added gently. "To everyone who asked if she belongs here, I do not measure belonging by money. I measure it by heart. If you want to know what that looks like, it's the woman in the white dress." The room rose. Even Collins, tight-lipped, slowly brought his hands together. Michael stepped down from the stage and walked straight to Kate. He didn't care about the cameras. He didn't care about the whispers. He cared about the promise he had made, not to hide her. "May I have this dance?" he asked. "Yes," she breathed. They moved to the center of the floor. The orchestra began a slow waltz. Michael placed one hand at her waist. She set her hand over his heart. They swayed gently, not performing, just breathing together. "Are you okay?" he whispered. Kate nodded, eyes shining. "You spoke for me before I could speak for myself." "You've done the same for me," he said. "From the first moment." As they turned, The lights caught the lace on her sleeves. For a second, she glanced at the tall windows above, their reflections floating like a dream. She remembered the rainy evening when she could only touch glass. Tonight, she wasn't outside looking in. She was home. When the music faded, Michael didn't let go. He reached into his pocket and, with a steady breath, went down on one knee. A quiet gasp rippled through the hall. He held up a simple, elegant ring. "At the cafe, I asked you to say yes to today," he said softly. "Tonight, I'm asking something more." Tears gathered in Kate's eyes. "Kate Brooks, will you marry me? Not for headlines, not for show. For mornings and music and ordinary days. For the life we promised to build, slow and true." She pressed her hands to her mouth, laughing and crying at once. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "yes." The room erupted, not because of a billionaire, because of a man and a woman who chose love in public. Michael slid the ring onto her finger. It fit like a final piece in a quiet puzzle. He rose, kissed her forehead, and the orchestra began again, unplanned, but perfect. Collins approached a few minutes later, awkward and stiff. "Mr. Reed." "Michael." The speech was strong. "Investors are already pledging to the fund."
"I didn't expect that."
Michael's arms stayed around Kate. Sometimes money follows what the heart already knows. Collins cleared his throat, then turned to Kate. "Miss Brooks, congratulations." Kate smiled kindly. "Thank you." Collins left, smaller than before. Much later, when the hall had thinned and the cameras had gone, Michael and Kate stepped out onto the terrace. The city glittered below like a bowl of stars. "Do you regret it?" she asked softly. "Saying all that?" "Not for a second," he said. "The only thing I regret is waiting this long to say it." She leaned her head on his shoulder. The music from inside drifted out in warm waves. Somewhere, a quiet part of their stories healed for good. "Michael," she whispered. "Yes. Thank you for opening the window." He smiled. "Thank you for walking through." They stood there in the cool night, holding each other, knowing that the storm had finally begun to pass, and that the calm waiting on the other side was theirs. The next weeks moved like warm sunlight through curtains, soft, steady, and sure. There were fittings and flowers, calls and lists, but Kate wanted one thing more than anything: a small wedding filled with heart, not noise. They chose a quiet garden behind a little chapel where lilies bloomed and birds nested in low trees. It was the same place Michael used to visit with his mother on Sunday afternoons, a place that felt like home. Kate woke before dawn. The world was still. She made tea, then walked to the white gown hanging by her window, the dress that once lived behind glass. She touched the lace and smiled. Lydia arrived with a basket and a loud whisper. "Bride awake?" "I brought pins, tissues, and courage." Kate laughed, hugging her. "I only need the last one." "Keep all three," Lydia said, wiping her eyes. "You look like a prayer." Across town, Michael stood in front of a mirror, tying his simple black tie. He paused, opened the top drawer, and lifted the silver music box. He turned the key once. The familiar tune rose, calm and true. "Walk with me, Mom," he whispered. Mr. Parker appeared at the door. "Ready, sir?" Michael closed the box and slipped it into his inner pocket.
"Yes."
"But call me Michael today." Mr. Parker smiled. "Gladly." They kept the guest list small, people who had stayed when the noise got loud. Lydia fussed over the flowers. Mr. Parker coordinated the soft piano music under the trees. Even Mr. Collins came, quieter than usual. He shook Michael's hand and said, "I was wrong. The fund is changing lives already. Thank you for proving that heart and business can live in the same room." Michael nodded. "Thank you for coming." Rows of white chairs faced a wooden arch wrapped in lilies and green leaves. The air smelled like rain that would not fall. The first notes of the piano floated through the garden. Everyone rose. Kate stepped into the sunlight, wearing the white lace gown, a small sprig of lily tucked in her hair, and a soft blue ribbon at her waist, the same blue as the scarf Michael had given her as a handkerchief, embroidered with a tiny music note. She held no heavy bouquet, just a single white daisy. Michael felt his breath catch. She looked like the answer to a question his heart had asked for years. When she reached him, he whispered, "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." She smiled through tears. "So are you, when you look at me like that." They stood hand in hand as the officiant began. The wind moved gently through the lilies, a small choir of leaves. Michael spoke first. "I once measured life by tall buildings and full rooms," he said softly. "Then I met a girl who measured it by quiet hope at a window. Kate, you reminded me that love is not a performance, it's a place to rest. I promise to make our home a place where your dreams can breathe. I promise to choose you on ordinary mornings and to protect your laughter on heavy days. I promise to keep a seat by the window for the lives we will touch together." Kate's voice trembled, but her words were clear. "I once thought beauty lived behind glass," she said. "Then I met a man who opened the door and said, 'Come in.' Michael, you saw me when I was small and made me feel whole. I promise to walk beside you when the world is loud and to keep our love simple when life tries to make it complicated. I promise to carry your mother's song in my heart and to remind you of the boy who believed in, maybe next time, until he learned to say today." A hush settled over the garden. Even the birds seemed to listen. Before the rings, Michael reached into his pocket and brought out the music box. He set it carefully on a small table beside them and wound it once. The melody rose, steady and silver. Tears slipped down Kate's cheeks. "For Anna," Michael said softly. "For Anna," Kate echoed. He slid a simple gold band onto her finger. She did the same for him, her hands steadier than she expected. The officiant smiled. "By the promises you have spoken and the love you have shown, I pronounce you husband and wife. You may." Michael didn't wait. He kissed her, gentle first, then with the certainty of a man who had finally arrived where he was meant to be. Applause scattered, like petals. After the "I do," they didn't have a grand ballroom. They had long wooden tables under trees, glasses of lemonade, soft cake with vanilla cream, and a record player humming old songs. Lydia made a toast that shook with happy tears. Mr. Parker told a quiet story about Michael bringing staff coffee on late nights. Even Collins laughed, less stone and more man. As the sun began to rest, Michael led Kate to the edge of the garden where the path met a small iron gate. "I have one more promise," he said. He opened the gate and there, tucked behind it, stood a narrow glass cabinet, not fancy, just honest wood and clean panes. Inside, on a velvet stand, sat the blue dress, a replica of his mother's, sewn from memory and kindness. Kate covered her mouth. "Michael, it's not for you to wear," he said softly. "It's for us to remember. This is the first piece of the Windows and Wishes exhibit. We'll place it in the foundation hall and invite women to bring the stories of what they wished for and who they became. Not just dresses. Dreams." Kate turned to him, eyes full. "You kept your mother's promise alive." "We did," he said, kissing her forehead. "You helped me arrive in time." Evening painted the garden in gold and lavender. Michael set the music box on the table once more and wound it. He held out his hand. "Dance with me, Mrs. Reed." She laughed, a sound like soft bells. "Always." They danced barefoot on the grass, the hem of her gown catching light, his tie loosened, their foreheads touching. No reporters. No headlines. Just breath and music and love that had nothing to prove. "Are you happy?" he whispered.
"More than happy," she said.
"I'm home." He exhaled like a man who had been holding his breath for years. "So am I." The tune reached its final notes. Even when it stopped, the melody stayed between them, a silence that felt like prayer. They looked up at the first star, then back at each other, and smiled, a promise without words. A poor girl once stood behind glass and wished. A weary man once sat behind glass and forgot how to feel. Together, they opened the window, stepped through, and built a life where hope could walk in. And every night on a small table by their window, a silver music box waits, ready to sing them home. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you find this story worth watching. If you do, Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more beautiful stories. Thanks for watching.